Okay. So moving ahead, educational media planners have backgrounds primarily in education. Okay. Some began their careers in broadcasting. Okay. Increasingly, they have training in educational communication, the hybrid field which focuses on educational media. Okay. Now, the work of educational media planners is guided by communication effects. Okay. Educators are interested in helping people learn and are accustomed to measuring this particular kind of media effect. A second criteria is cost. Much recent effort to develop educational media systems has grown out of belief that they expand the reach of education while lowering cost per person reached. The third criteria is the audience size, okay, usually measured by enrollment figures. So there are many well documented examples of educational media planning. Okay, radio has been used on a large scale in education in countries such as El Salvador, Kenya, Malaysia, Nicaragua, Philippines, and Thailand. So radio is used for teacher training, for direct classroom instruction, for support of conventional teaching, and for a variety of non formal educational efforts. Television has also been extensively used, for example, in El Salvador, the Ivory Coast, and the Singapore. Okay, these projects have met with varying degrees of success, but on the whole have shown the potential educational media have to bring good teaching to learners. The use of mass media for education is expanding, creating an increasingly important area for communication planning. Okay, now we'll move to the next kind of planning. Okay, this is the development communication planning. Okay, now over here, a development communication, though varied, basically comprises a wide range of planned communication activities which have as their purpose the creation of social and individual change within the development process. Now, this encompasses the campaigns in support of development programs in health, agriculture, and rural development. So, governments use development communication to build a sense of national identity and to inform people of development goals and programs. Development communication planning is oriented primarily towards the utilization of communication resources and, like other forms of planning discussed above, involves all three communication systems. So, there is a great deal of emphasis on combined uses of systems. All communication goals are at least potentially dealt with as well, although there has often been an emphasis on persuasion goals, especially in such areas as family planning. As the development theories and ideologies that are part of the social image change, the dialogue function is becoming more important. In fact, the impact of different social images is especially significant in development communication. What is considered development communication in one society may very likely be considered propaganda in another. So, planners of this type of activity are found in almost any agency and sector which has development programs. They work in information ministries, they may be found in other government ministries, also in private agencies. So they are deeply involved in negotiation for resources and telecommunication and mass media planners. They tend to plan at project levels, seeking ways to use communication to support or lead development of all kinds, although national plans within a sector, that is family planning, can be found. So development communication planners work within a range of perspectives. Okay, it's not just one. They have to have a huge range. Okay, planning is usually quite short term with emphasis on evaluation and learning from experience. Planners backgrounds are varied. Now, many come to communication from subject or problem-oriented backgrounds in agriculture, in health, in community and rural development. Okay, many have extension education backgrounds. Okay, an increasing number have been trained in communication. Their guiding criteria relate to change, individual change, group change, and occasionally structural change. There is a central emphasis on change in information and knowledge levels of audiences, and efforts are often made to measure changes in behavior as well. Okay, so the first four types of communication planning are real activities. They can be found in most societies, that is, developing societies as well as developed ones. Okay, now the fifth type of planning, that's the integrated planning across systems and functions for a single society, is an idealized kind of planning, increasingly recommended and considered, but it is rarely done. Okay, so one example of a national communication plan integrating the categories of planning noted above exists, but it has not been implemented. Okay, it has never been implemented owing to a change in government. Okay, planning of this type would be done from a broad national perspective for a complex system of many elements and many goals. The idea is receiving considerable attention in developing societies. So, communication resources, like other resources, are scarce in the face of increasing demand. The planned creation, allocation, and use of these resources holds promise for increased cost effectiveness. At the same time, it raises the issue of the control of a nation's communication resources in a particularly direct and tangible way. So, how we can resources can be allocated and controlled at this level while freedom and diversity remains protected? So, the answer, according to the framework, will flow from the dominant social image in a given society. Okay, planning of this type would be oriented towards the creation, allocation, and the use of communication resources to achieve a wide range of goals. This integration of orientation is indeed one of the principal benefits cited by advocates of national planning. As this kind of planning would incorporate the first four, the planners would come from the full range of backgrounds and disciplines. The coordination of such a planning team in itself would pose serious problems. The gilding criteria would, like the planning team, be an amalgamation of the criteria and the other forms of planning. So, national level integrated communication planning is likely to begin with the development of coherent national policies to guide the currently fragmented efforts of the different types of planners. Councils and coordinating bodies may follow. While it is difficult to predict the shape that such planning will take, there is likely to be some balance between the centralized resource creation, allocation decisions, and priorities on the one hand, and a continuation of decentralized planning on the other. Clearly, coordination of organizations pose a central problem.